become who we want to be as individuals. And at the end of the day, that's going to help us be a successful offense.
Man-to-man, one-on-one coverage because the safety rolls to Jefferson's side.
Jordan Love hit me up the night of the draft, just congratulating me, let me know it's time to work. A.J. Dillon was open arms.
Von Rock caught a ball with his thighs. We didn't even talk about that.
It was more of with his ass.
If he throws a good ball, this is a running, catching touchdown untouched.
Like, KP does like these flips after every win, and I'm like just waiting for him to do his flip.
To know that we still love each other, that's what football brings us.
Across the safety's face.
You can tune in anywhere that you guys follow us on social media. Welcome to the Practice Squad Pod, episode 80. I don't know why, it just feels like a good milestone number. It just kind of looked cool, type in 080 in. This is going to be our Aliens of the Year episode. You guys are probably very familiar with Mark putting together the Aliens of the Week. We went through and took all of our favorite plays from the entire year from that series, and we'll be going through them on this episode, as well as the PSP Awards. We disagreed with the NFL committee on a couple of awards, and we came up with some awards of our own. One that maybe the NFL committee, doesn't feel appropriate making an award for. So exciting stuff there. Mark, how you doing? How's the new house treating you?
Yeah, coming from you live from the new cribbo. Feels weird. First episode recording here. Walls are obviously pretty blank. Looking to fix that problem, hopefully, in the coming episodes. But it feels good. Moved in. Doesn't really feel like home yet. But I'm ready to record a hell of an episode, that's for sure.
Yeah. And well, now that, you have nobody setting rules for interior design, I know you were talking about, the podcast and maybe get some rap and NFL memorabilia for a wall and stuff. But, you're just going to go kind of like lawn chairs and TV without an entertainment center for the rest of the place, or?
Oh, I got the entertainment center downstairs going.
Okay. Got a folding table on.
I got a
laptop's on right now.
Yeah, I got a nice 4 TV setup down in the basement. Can create a mega TV, so plenty of ball will be watched down there. Plenty.
I remember COVID one time. I brought a couple of extra TVs into the living room. We had 3 games running at once, and we're just playing.
You have to. You can't afford to miss. Incredible. You can't miss anything. Everything's Yeah,
the 4-panel for Sunday Ticket is nice for sure, but having just 3 games running at once on separate TVs goes crazy. So, well, I'm happy that your man cave, it sounds like it's already geared up for great things for next NFL season. I'm looking forward to it. All right. So like I said, we're going to get really just right into it as far as reviewing some of our favorite plays from the season. And just so that we can kind of, schedule set, expectation set. The following week, we're going to do offensive line, NFL draft prospects. It's a very deep offensive line class, as well as a deep receiver and quarterback class. So 2 things worth considering. And then the other thing that we're going to do after that is NFL free agency will be underway the following week. So that will be the main subject of conversation. That's one of my favorite weeks to do a podcast on. Everything's happening so fast. I almost feel like, Mark, I haven't, ran this by you, but maybe we should do 2 mini episodes on that. Because I remember last year did a whole episode, covered all the big moves, and then
only to have another
a day later, another wave of crazy things happened. Exactly. So
that's why you got to follow us on socials to keep track, because we'll do a lot of stuff that's much more timely in short form, like TikTok, Instagram Reels, maybe some Twitter stuff. So you know where to find us, and look at the ticker below. Links, all over our page.
Make sure you're reminding Mark he needs to take the ACT. He's a debt.
It's also in the ticker.
It's also in the ticker. And also don't take the Denver Broncos, because that is a palpable
We
curse.
learned that the hard way. I learned that several times the hard way.
All right. So starting things off from when we launched Aliens, which I think it was week 1.
I think week 2.
Week 2? Okay. So what I am about to show is actually starting in week 2 for Aliens. And this kind of became our bread and butter, is putting the best plays from the week on display. This one, and it was Calvin Ridley the quietest 1,000-yard receiver of the year?
Dude, he was a roller coaster. Highs were very high.
Yeah.
Lows were very low. Trevor Lawrence was, injury ridden here and there all year.
He came out firing, and then he slumped really badly, and then he kind of, regained some of that.
Fantasy football, we had him. John and I both had Calvin Ridley as a kind of a boom guy in fantasy football this year in our preseason episode, and he was quite the boom about half the time, and other times he was a 100% dud.
Traded him in week 3 for Christian McCaffrey. And
that's called very wise,
dudes.
very wise trade. But this first throw you're looking at is just ridiculous. Trevor Lawrence, the route's obviously great, the concentration to catch it, but Lawrence is taking a hit while he releases this. And John, you got to pause it like right before the ball goes through that window. Because, he fits this between 2 defenders. And it's pretty ridiculous concentration from Ridley. But the fact that the ball gets through and is caught and he runs after the catch, really this was the play that kind of started Aliens for me. I saw this and, I got the all 22 footage, and when I saw it live, I was impressed. When I saw it from this angle, that's when Aliens came to fruition. So this play for the beginning of the Aliens of the week, and now Aliens of the year.
The staple series of Practice Squad Pod. This one is, and one thing that I think this is fun too is kind of talking about, where these players are at in their careers. Ridley probably not going to be a Jaguar next year. They have to give up a 2nd round pick to the Falcons to keep him. I don't know if he's worth that. You can, with a deep receiver class, you can go and draft another receiver with that 2nd round pick and not have to pay him the big money that Ridley's probably expecting. Another interesting story here, right? Bijan Robinson, obviously RB1 in this draft, considered a generational talent, showed it on film very often, but was underutilized throughout the year. And you do kind of scratch your head and wonder why. Hopefully he becomes more of a bell cow for this team under the new coaching regime.
A lot of flashes of greatness from him. This first one against Carolina was like his coming out party. Like, this was the play that, you throw a little screen to him, it makes 2 people look stupid, bounces off another defender. He's super, super special with the ball in his hands. You're going to see him in Aliens a few times early in this episode, and then you just not again. So we're hoping for a better year 2, but what he showed early on and what Atlanta showed early on as a team was the potential to be a pretty darn good football team. It just didn't pan out.
Yeah, the talent is very much there offensively for Atlanta. And I was harping on this before the season started, that their offensive line was underrated as well. They really are a team that just needs a quarterback, and they're going to be a serious threat because their defense isn't half bad either. I think everybody's kind of pointing towards Justin Fields to take that spot potentially, but we'll see what happens. Another Bijan clip coming up.
Back-to-back Bijan.
This one is legendary too. So sick.
Oh my god!
Oh, that cut,
dude. It's like whoa, oh shit, oh. It's like it gets you like 3 or 4 times. You don't think he's gonna do it again, then he does. Like the jump cuts, the explosion in each cut that he has, and he never looks like he slows down. That's the special thing that very, very few running backs can put on film. He does it, with ease. Like, this is stuff that Barry Sanders used to do. You see Jahmyr Gibbs sometimes do it. McCaffrey, he can do it, but not many guys can do this.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I think this is the one where they did that cool like overhead shot too, and slowed it down, and it was like the first time like any social media team like posted it from that like angle with that kind of editing,
and then everybody tried to copy it.
Yeah, just insane. Now everybody dropped freaking $15K on a camera for the roof of their stadium.
Yeah. Chump change.
All right. Just him, Herbert, coming up here with a ridiculous throw.
Yeah, from his own end zone. This thing's caught on like the 40-yard line.
I'm slowing this one down too, just so you can see.
You could go to the end zone view. This is where like there's not many guys on planet Earth that can make this throw. That's why it's an alien throw. Like you're not supposed to be able to do this. Steps into it, rocket, has to be placed perfectly because it's perfect coverage. I mean, it really is. It's perfect coverage on the outside. Receiver didn't give him much room to the sideline to work, and he puts this exactly where it needs to be. against Minnesota. I mean,
Alien.
That's all you can say. And a great catch, too. An outstanding catch as well.
Who was it that grabbed that?
That was Mike Williams before the injury.
I was going to say, because he got hurt, I think, what, week 5, 6, something like that, pretty early in the season.
Yeah, so if you go up, John, in the thread here, it's, the first play shows you, I mean, this game, Myles Garrett, defensive player of the year in this league, and early on, it was looking like it was a bet, a good bet that he was going to be that, because he had guys doubling him, which is just something that I still to this day don't think I've ever seen two people go in motion and shift to follow a moving defender. Like, obviously, when you have guys like Kelvin Johnson, right, Jefferson at times, you'll have two guys follow him on certain downs because they're going to bracket coverage, they're going to double team him, in the secondary, and they're going to force you to go somewhere else with the ball. I've never seen this happen where a defender is moving and dictating what the offensive formation does,
Right.
and then the Titans have to call a timeout on 3rd and 12 to get off the field because they can't figure it out. Like, I've never seen that before. You know how impactful you have to be as a defensive pass rusher. Like, you're a game wrecker. When you hear the word game wrecker, that is what we're talking about. I never saw that happen again all season, and I don't recall seeing that ever before. Like, that was,
and this is, and I scrolled up it wasn't working in the middle of the thread, but I have a fresh one with it. Like, I mean, you can see just how much of a problem he was. Getting held to ever living shit and still is the one to make the play here. I mean,
he's so big, he's so explosive. If you see this guy, like, have you ever seen Myles Garrett play basketball as just like a pickup like, he's a freak of nature as an athlete. He probably is the most alien-like guy that plays in the NFL.
He's ridiculous.
Like, he doesn't look like he's from this planet.
The Colts play is going to make an appearance here too, for a little spoiler. It's ridiculous, and he was making plays like that the entire season. Well deserved defensive player of the year. He had an incredible historic season.
So then here we go to Buffalo. This is a combination of a pretty darn good throw, but really this is just everyday stuff from Josh Allen. What surprises me and what stood out to me is Diggs and his after the catch. Not only just the after the catch, the route itself is outstanding. So you obviously see he makes something out of nothing after the catch, but what he did to get open is ridiculous. So you'll see it again. I'll go through it. He gets a good outside release, sells the vertical, fakes like he's going to go out, goes back up, and then his stop on a dime. Like, Diggs' route running is so special because he's so twitchy. He's so good at his start and stop, his acceleration and deceleration. I mean, he's up there with the best route runners in the league, and there's no doubt about it. They know it's man-to-man because they shift the motion over. So obviously Josh sees that pre-snap and wants to go to his top guy. But, I mean, the after the catch, to be able to break these tackles, spin out of it and make something out of nothing.
Not that I really like giving the Vikings their flowers, but how do they keep getting away with this with their receiver drafting? Like, it's actually crazy the streak they've been on over the past, 20 years with how they draft their receivers. I mean, guy after guy and they let him go, and you're like, oh, that's a huge loss. And they find somebody else that's really, really freaking good too. Obviously, Diggs to Jefferson, get rid of Thielen. Get in Addison, who had one hell of a rookie year. It's crazy.
They're definitely hitting on the receiver position.
For real. Another Bijan. I think this might be the last Bijan appearance.
Yeah,
out of
you get 3 Bijan clips in like the first 8 minutes of this episode. This is just one of. I mean, you just don't see NFL guys look this silly on film very often. They're so athletic, and they're the best in the world.
Their ankles completely shattered by somebody. It doesn't happen.
That is just. I mean, he missed that tackle by a good 3 yards.
Really bad.
Like, he was tackling
hard on that.
You can make fun of the defender all you want. He's looking on the film like, what the fuck just happened? Bijan Robinson is an alien. I mean, imagine how you would feel trying to tackle somebody that's not from this planet. Like, I don't think it's easy.
My ankles would literally be broken.
It's not something that's, we can joke about it all we want, but he's not the first guy that has looked that stupid trying to tackle Bijan Robinson, and he won't be the last. So this is a cool clip, John, because this is the first time a coach gets put on the Aliens of the Week list. Obviously, we've looked at some of the top plays from players, and that usually regards to athleticism or, creativity and route running or, an impressive throw. This is a play call. And just to give kind of a background on it, the best way to watch this, John, is from the end zone view, which is if you go like about
I'll
halfway
slow
through
it
the
down
clip.
when we get there. Yeah.
But Ben Johnson dials this up. It's a third down play. He makes it look like it's going to be some kind of screen because Goff's attention is waving JMO in motion, which the defenders then shift and they're preoccupied looking at what's going to happen with the formation. As you can see, the Panthers aren't set because Goff's not set. Everyone else in the Lions are set. They're sending JMO in motion. The ball is snapped through Jared Goff's legs. That's the craziest part. The risk of that, but it's the reason I put this in here is because it's successful. The Lions got a huge push up front because the Panthers weren't set, and David Montgomery got the first down really without having to do much work. He doesn't really make contact with anybody until
he runs into Decker. That's the first contact he sees on these plays. He hits his own offensive lineman.
I have never seen anything like that where the ball is snapped through. And again, here we'll see it one more time. The ball goes through Goff's legs. And this is coached. This is planned. That is not like an accident. And look at Jared Goff acts like the ball was fumbled. Like, this is such good execution. And I always say the best thing about offensive play callers is they practiced this. They had it in their bag of tricks. Probably for weeks.
Honestly,
and they waited
too.
The cadence too. And they waited for the right time to do it. And when the right time comes, nobody panicked. They executed this to a T. And you have to give Ben Johnson credit because this is one of the more creative ththings I saw all year from any play caller on O or D.
And I think the number of returning players they're going to have offensively, like just, a third year in the Ben Johnson system is going to be crazy because he seems to not run out of his, bag of tricks. All right. Joe Burrow, who, obviously only made it about halfway through the season, but put some pretty incredible stuff on tape when he was healthy. That was sparse in of itself, but then he does stuff like this and you're like, oh yeah, that's what this dude is capable of. Just an absolutely ridiculous throw.
I'll be honest, John, in terms of most accurate deep ball throwers I've ever seen, it's Tom Brady and Joe Burrow. And the similarities, and I'm talking specifically on deep ball throws where it's not like he's not throwing off his back foot, like where he has time to throw. He puts this thing so accurately that like I don't think he could have handed it better. Like, this thing is a bomb. He throws it from the 30 and it lands on the 15-yard line. And obviously great tracking, great route, great catch by Jamar Chase, but this thing is so well thrown. Like, you have to just be in awe of it. And this is what this guy can do.
Yeah, like you said, hats off to Burrow for the accuracy of this throw. Jamar, like, it's always crazy to me as a non-wide receiver, probably the exact opposite of what you would want in the shape and athleticism of a wide receiver. The ball tracking's nuts to me. I don't know how the hell they do that.
Dude.
Like
it's something that's practiced. It's something, obviously, you're born with some of that skill, but this is something that they work on. This is something that you practice.
Their chemistry is crazy.
You can tell a confident pass catcher from someone who's not confident in their ability to catch the ball. Jamar Chase feels like he'll catch anything that he can touch. And you can see it just in how easily he makes this catch. And then, on the flip side of that, there's times where you watch guys like J-Mo, for example. He doesn't look confident when he catches the ball. Like, his hands never really look like they're strong. They never look like they're in the right spot. And that's where you get drop issues. And so a lot of the guys you see have drop problems in the league, you can tell by watching more and more of their footage of whether they caught it or not.
Right.
It doesn't.
Their pre-catch habits. Yeah.
Yes.
This might be one of my favorite plays of the year. Obviously a lot of competition here. You can see how many tabs are open of plays that we're looking at. This, I think, I don't know who gave out the award, but award for block of the year. And it is incredibly, incredibly well-deserved. It is, as Mark says in the description here, like, everything that you love about Lions football is embodied in this play.
Yeah. And it was third and long, which is the first thing that you know. It's a great run after the catch. It's a great route. from Amon-Ra. It's Goff goes through his progression, makes the right read. But the thing that stands out is a guy, your third string running back, you're down Montgomery. He gets hurt early in this game. Gibbs is out of this game. And so you're playing your third string running back. And when you need a play against a good football team, the Bucs at the time, who were, I think, 3-1 at the time, and you see a block like this taking out two guys, you hit a guy so hard it takes out his teammate, and it's a clean hit.
Yeah, one of those plays that I'll absolutely never forget for as long as
this is the definition to me. This is the definition of grit. Like, this is grit on film, caught on film for everybody to see. And yeah, I mean, that's unselfish. It's tough, and it fires this team up. You can see Amon-Ra, like, he spikes the ball not because he scored, but because of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, he knows what that was. Just an outstanding play, man. And you can see 60. You see number 60 turning and pointing to Craig Reynolds, like instantly knowing that this was not an Amon-Ra touchdown. This was a Craig Reynolds unselfish. Look at the. You'll see him pointing back, like, dude, you did this. Just an awesome play. I mean, he was in the route concept. Just so everyone's clear, John, go back to the beginning of this clip. Craig Reynolds is in the route concept. He's running a route. He's a check down. He reacts to the ball being thrown and gets himself in the play.
Yeah.
So many people just stop and watch. Once you don't get the ball and you're in the backfield and you're a check down, most people just stop and watch the play.
And for a guy like Craig Reynolds too, like, this is shit like this in this system is a roster spot next year. Too.
Roster spot.
Like, it's
like this earned him a consistent chance to continue to be a part of this offense. Totally. And I'm telling you, this is what football's all about. Like, this is what you want to show people. Like, you have to respect it. You have to honor it. Like, that's what it's all about.
I'm happy we're doing this because now we're like 2 Sundays removed from NFL football. And so, like, most of the year in review stuff on a lot of other shows is pretty much wrapping up. They're, looking at free agency, looking at draft. I'm like fired up again about just football in general because it's been 2 weeks of
plays like that, man.
Point. Like,
I mean, you have SC top 10 and that's great, but there's nothing quite like aliens of the week. Like, you get to look at some of the most unique things. Anybody can be on it. I mean, coaches, defensive players, like, you'll have specialists get on here. There's a lot of different ways to get on here. This was the pre-fall apart Eagles, when they were looking like a Super Bowl contender. When Jalen Hurts was looking like an MVP. He was looking like an MVP candidate. We know Jalen Hurts is strong. We've seen videos of him squatting 600 plus. We've seen him bench pressing, doing all the stuff that he does. This is why it's important to be strong in the weight room, because it translates. He stiff arms this dude for, I don't know,
it runs for
3 seconds.
Yeah, like, runs 10 yards to get the ball out. It's ridiculous.
It's like literally like the child please, without saying child please. Like, he just did it. And then to throw this ball as accurately as he does to convert and get the first down to A.J. Brown. Like, pinpoint accuracy on the run, rolling right, while holding off a defender with his left arm. Avoids the sack. And these are freak athletes chasing after him. And he's making them look like a little boy.
It's ridiculous.
He's making them look like a dog that's like trying to take the food out of your hand while you're watching TV. And he's like, no, just get away.
Man, the NFL is better when the Eagles are good at football. So I'm hoping that this coordinator change up that they did this year is going to pan out, because I do legitimately like watching this team and the characters and personalities on it. All right, here's the play that I was talking about. Out of all the defensive snaps that Myles Garrett has taken, and ridiculous things from pressuring the quarterback and sacks and run defense and all of that good stuff, this might be the most ridiculously athletic thing that he has done. He hurdles a grown-ass man like it was no problem at all. Obviously makes the play. Like,
dude, when we tell you this guy's not from planet Earth,
it's so fast you don't even, like, he's just there. Like, the play starts and all of a sudden he's behind the guy.
This kick never had a chance.
No.
And just so everyone who's maybe not as familiar with the rule, like, you can't, if you were to touch one of the Colts defenders' backs, it's an illegal play.
Right. But
so
there's nothing in the rule book about completely jumping over them.
If you clear them perfectly, you can do it. You just can't jump over the center. So he jumps over the guard and still gets to the midpoint of the kick. And I think this kick actually hits him in the chest.
Yeah, no chance.
Like that kick had no chance the second he decided to do that, and he took over that game. By the way, that was a game where he had like 3 sacks. I think he had a safety. Like he was all over the place that entire game.
Yeah, he owned the Colts. Another big Joe Burrow play. I think this is a week or two before his injury. It takes him out the rest of the year. Man, I know the Bengals got some cap issues to work through, but like, do not count this team out next year. They were getting hot at the right time, despite the Burrow injuries. And they, honestly, like I think if he was there, they could have gone on a deep playoff run, 100%.
You
I know
can't count Joe Burrow out. Joe Burrow gets a lot of credit for like I said, his down the field accuracy, how he carries himself, his winning personality, but he can move in the pocket.
I mean, this is like
He's
that
one of
Hurts
the best
play that you were talking about,
dude.
man. Like he dodges a couple guys and then he just throws one dude down so that he can get open to go and make this play.
And he throws Nick Bosa.
It's like get the frick
Like
off.
stiff arms Nick Bosa to the ground. Have you seen Nick Bosa? He's a freak.
Yeah, crazy.
The Niners are a good, strong pass rushing defense, and he breaks 2 or 3 tackles and then delivers a dime while getting hit by the best linebacker in football. I mean, pretty special.
This one is insane too. Yeah, you called this like the Michael Jackson throw.
Yeah, it looks like a dance move. It's Lamar Jackson. He sees where he wants to go with the ball, but when he wants to throw it, he's got a defender in his face. So when he goes to throw the ball, John, you can pause it right there.
Yeah.
He goes to throw it. There's a defender with a hand up, right? Defenders are taught to match, the quarterback's eyes, match their throwing motion. So he kind of goes to pump fake it. Defender puts the hand up. He knows it's going to get batted down. So instead, he kind of kicks his foot up, super unorthodox. Sidearm slings it with his left leg going up in the air. I mean, I don't know. You don't see stuff like this very often. It looks like a dance move. It looks like he's doing it for style points, but realistically, he's just doing it to buy himself an extra half second so that he can get a clear window to throw. He knows he's open because he's right. Open the whole play.
Well, and also it's like it's giving him the body positioning necessary not only to make the throw, but to also see like where he's throwing. I mean, and Andrews is wide open here, right? It's not the most beautiful ball in the world, but it 100% gets the job done in order to make this touchdown happen. It's a crazy play. And I think Lamar, like, he has his pros, he has his cons. One thing that he is incredible at is just his situational awareness. He is always so aware of what's going on around him in the pocket. I mean, as we were talking about before the episode started, like maybe not the fastest scrambling quarterback on the face of the earth. That's not how he does what he does. It's literally because it's almost like he has like a third eye and sees where every single freaking defender is on the field at once and works in accordance with that all the time. So awesome play from Lamar. I know that season was disappointing if you're a Baltimore fan, but I also think that with that receiving core and the situation they got over there, they can expect to run it back next year and be just as competitive. Baker Mayfield, man, this is, one of the best underdog stories, I think, of the NFL past few years. Gets cast away by the Browns after taking him to their first playoff win in decades, right? It's like freaking 19, 20 years or something like that. Finds a home with the Bucks and is playing damn good football with them.
This should have been, this was a game-winning drive for them, and then C.J. Stroud, the Texans, just straight up robbed him of this. I think this was with like under a minute remaining. Like I always say, and you'll see other throws on here, if the defender's back is to you, throw it off his ear hole, right? That's a coaching point for quarterbacks, especially down here in the red zone. This linebacker is chasing the tight end. It's a tough matchup to begin with. He never has a chance to turn around because he gets beat, and Baker just gives his guy, the second he sees that, Baker gives his guy the chance. And this is a huge touchdown. The circumstances, this is an away game. The Bucs are fighting for a playoff spot. This is later in the year. We're getting to that mid-season, towards the end of the season now. And this should have been a Bucs win. The defense blew it on the next drive. C.J. Stroud, unbelievable, comeback to win it. But this is in the clutch time, Baker Mayfield doing what he does. Outstanding play.
Seriously, incredible. First Mahomes appearance, I think, of
No, this
So-
is just Chiefs defense doing what they do. This was like
Oh, my
the
bad.
early.
My bad. Sorry, I read
This was
Mahomes, and I was like,
yeah.
no, this is defense. My bad.
Because
I
you
was
see
like, huh,
Chiefs and you assume Mahomes. What you
Right.
don't assume is see when I saw this game, John, is when I started to kind of tell people like, hey, the Chiefs are still very for real. And I think this was the first time, I think this week's episode from this week of the NFL is when I first said Mahomes with a defense like this is a problem.
Yeah, it's keeping him atop the AFC. Yeah. So,
So that's where that prediction, and for those of you who are new, I did predict the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl very early in the season when everybody counted them out. Right when they started to really suck is when I said they're going to win this thing. And it's because their defense, like I knew Mahomes was going to do Mahomes shit because he always will. It's inevitable. But the defense playing as good as they played really all year. Eventually I kept telling John, the offense is going to figure it out. Andy Reid's going to figure it out. Give them time. But the defense is ready to roll. Like this is a Super Bowl caliber defense all year. It never wavered.
no.
And plays like this is so creative. Like I mean, you think back to like Ed Reed doing that, at the U back in college, and he was one of the first people we saw like intentionally pitch it. Like when you have
Like
defensive
here, take
players,
this, and then immediately starts blocking too. It's the best part.
Yeah, and because this is just so other people are aware too. This is towards the end of the half, so the time's running out. The Dolphins are trying to get a before halftime field goal in, trying to get some points on the board.
This was the momentum that killed the Dolphins competing in this game. I mean, they weren't even close the rest of the game.
This made it, I think, 20 to. I think this made it 21-0.
Yeah,
right before half.
Yeah,
it's just it's an outstanding heads up play. Not necessarily the most athletic play, just insane, wherewithal and knowing where you are. He looks to pitch it to the other guy, and the guy wasn't looking, so then pitches it to number 6 because he was actually like ready for it. And then the blocking and the reaction of 51 Mike Dana, like my college teammate, he reacts to it, and his wherewithal to start blocking, and then you see 21 starts blocking, and it's awesome to watch. This is defensive unit football. It's one thing to limit teams' points, but if you can score points as a defense, like, you're helping your team significantly.
Right. Back-to-back Derwin James plays here if Twitter cooperates.
It's the same play, I think, just different angle.
Okay.
He comes down and just lays the boom. One of the hardest hitting guys in the league. I think one of the most feared defenders in the league for that reason. He recognizes this the whole way. He sees the screen developing, and he comes from his safety spot, flies down, and cracks Breece Hall here.
Yeah, that's one hell of a play. How long has he been in the league for now?
Derwin James has been in the league, I want to say 4 or 5 years.
I really managed to open that same play up 3 times while I was going through that. It shows how it was a solidly. By the way, I had to open every single one of these separately. So, and Mark had to go through and find all of them separately. So good chunk of episode prep going into this. Gardner Minshew, the second QB that should 100% be a starter somewhere. Got an opportunity with the Colts only due to injury and tore it up for most of the season. This play is ridiculous.
Dude, this is 3rd down, by the way. Okay, in a close game with New England. He's scrambling for his life, just buying time for receivers to get open. Throws it while jumping. And then this catch by Josh Downs. Like, they always teach you late hands with a receiver, like especially when you think a ball's overthrown, they teach you to dig, and then poke your hands out the very last second because you can't cover as much ground if you're running with your arms out. Mm-hmm. This is textbook. Like, if I could put this in a classroom and teach young receivers how to catch these kinds of throws, this is how you do it. But Minshew, absolutely, John, should be a starter. And you know what? He should start for the Indianapolis Colts. That's the team he should start for.
It's not going to happen because they just sunk a very high draft pick into a guy that Mark and I are both not super confident on. We'll see if we're proven wrong next season. Man, this Colts team, though, they're finding their rhythm. Steichens, I think, obviously, I think the offensive line, it was a scheme problem under Frank Reich. It wasn't a personnel problem. Their blocking was a lot better. got a young, talented receiving core. I think, they're going to have to work on like corner and safety a little bit, but I think this team honestly, very greatly improved this past season, and I think they'll keep that momentum up for next season. Assuming
I know this is one of your favorite plays of the year, John.
This is one of my favorite plays of the year. I would say if you could, award somebody for a cut of the year, I mean, this has to be it. He takes out 3 guys with this cut. It's ridiculous. Move. And then again, as Mark puts in here, like the team play, right? That you're seeing signature on all these Lions plays where you have 4 guys after the fact, also incredibly selflessly, like looking for a dude to block to make sure this gets in the end zone. Yeah, one of my favorite plays of the year, absolutely. In a game where, boom, right there. In a game where literally you had to score a touchdown every drive because neither team's defense really existed.
Look at the hustle from Raymond, the second level effort from Amon-Ra, the hustle from JMO. This is, you wonder when you like, this was mid-season, right? And this was like a huge win for the Lions. I think this was when really the Lions first started getting taken seriously, I think, by people that weren't Detroit fans, was after this game. And the big thing is, you wonder why the Lions made a run and went all the way to the NFC Championship game. It's the effort and the execution that they play with as an offense. And it's not like it just happened. Like, they did this all year. Like, it was their identity. What you put on film is who you are. And I mean, this is the second time we're seeing guys fall down, and JMO's screaming and celebrating after this play. He didn't do anything. He wasn't involved in the play besides blocking, but he's acting as if he's the one who scored. You can see the emotion. It's just obviously the cuts why it's an alien play, but it's like the little details of the play that I always love. Like, you can see even right now the effort from 11 at the top of the screen. JMO's sprinting to get into the picture. Amon-Ra is about to accelerate. He's about to jump over a guy to try to get into the picture. All these guys are ahead of JMO and Khalif, but look at them hustle their ass off to get ahead of the player so they don't block in the back. And that's the difference between the 40-yard run and then now it being an alien play because David Montgomery scores.
Yeah, it's just
like,
it's a ridiculous play.
It's so damn good. I love every part
Everything
of it. The
about
juke
it
obviously is what stands out the most in terms of freak of nature play. And Montgomery, when he was signed as a free agent, John and I said, this dude is so good with getting hit in the backfield and making people miss. Now he's going to do the same jukes 5 yards down the field
right.
before, you know what I mean? So, like, we knew this would happen. And that's exactly what happens on this play. The first contact he makes with anybody is 6 yards, and it gives him the time to decide what he wants to do as a juke. And the result is 3 powder blue jerseys colliding with each other and 6 points for the Lions.
Him and Gibbs are Sonic and Knuckles, and we get to enjoy that for another 2 years, for sure, because that's how long Montgomery's locked in for, and obviously Gibbs being a first-round rookie last year. So very exciting stuff. The Lions' run game is their bread and butter, and it is awesome seeing that much participation from all the receivers too every time. All right, this is. I mean, really the most Jameis. Like, if Jameis Winston is going to make it to Aliens of the Week, this is
how
it's in this fashion.
You're not supposed to even ever attempt. Pause it here. You're never supposed to
look where he is.
He's on the left numbers. Okay, we talk about how many times have we, like, we're doing our draft prep right now. Okay, and I'm breaking down quarterbacks film, and you can go check out our last week episode if you want to see this. And I talk about he's throwing it from the right hash to the left numbers and vice versa. This is Jameis throwing it from the left numbers to the right sideline. Like, he's throwing this thing.
From where?
He's throwing it 40 yards sideways and 35 yards down the field. And this is in the red zone. I get that A.T. Perry is like standing there with his hand up, but no, even he doesn't think the ball's coming to him.
He's like, oh, hell no.
But yet he places it so accurately. I mean, this is a rocket throw. John, this is arguably one of the best throws of the year. Like, you could make the argument. Now, you should never do this ever, but this, because he pulled it off.
Most Jameis Winston throw I have ever seen in my entire life.
Look at the next angle. The next angle will come. But this is I'm telling you guys, like, this is ridiculous.
It's hilarious.
It's laughable. It's literally funny. He's throwing, dude, like the accuracy of where that lands. It's
Oh, that's
he's
so good.
he's got a special arm talent for sure. Always has.
Right.
He's
But
just,
per usual, Jameis Winston, how close is this to being an interception?
inches.
Like
literally
inches. Like that.
He could
that
make this
defender
throw
times that
100
jump.
times. Yeah, 100 times he'll make that exact same throw, and 98 times it's getting tipped or picked.
Like if that defender makes that jump just a little bit different, that is 100% an interception, and that is the Jameis Winston stat line extraordinary right there. It's like, all right,
you got to give him credit though, right? Tall receiver, A.T. Perry, giving it, not let alone throwing that ball that far, but putting it as accurately as he did, where only his guy can get to it. That's special.
It's incredible. One more of Burrow.
Burrow to Chase, death and taxes. Rolling left. I mean, literally, this thing is so just perfectly in stride. This looks very similar to the one we showed earlier, Burrow to Chase. But I mean, this is not easy. But their chemistry is so spot on. I mean, college teammates turned to pro teammates. They've made this throw in practice on air, I don't know, probably 5,000 times over the last 5 years or so. And it's special, dude. It's just a great chemistry that they have. Again, escapability in the pocket, and then his ability to make the throw down the field. It's up there with the best we've ever seen do this.
For real. I mean, and he can. I mean, Joe Burrow's what, 6'5", 6'6"? Like he can freaking move.
He can move.
That size.
Yeah, he is very, very athletic.
This catch is ridiculous, and I know Wilson is not going to be a Denver Bronco next year, like 99.9% chance. But it's plays like this that make you think that he does still have like something left in the tank that another team can take advantage of. I don't know. It would have to be a perfect coordinator offensive scheme fit, but like he did a couple plays like this throughout the season, man, where you're like, holy crap, what a catch, what a throw, as Mark puts.
This is, again, this is right up there with throws of the year, catch of the year. You got to pause it, John, right when it's caught, because I
wish we had the other angle, but you can tell his feet are right there.
His feet are in,
and he is out catching the ball.
And just like the ball placement, rolling a right-handed quarterback, rolling out of pressure to his left, torquing his hips and throwing this thing, literally the only place that it can be put for this to be a catch. Because any further, it's going to be incomplete because he's out of bounds. Any further inside, and it's going to be broken up or picked. Yeah. But I mean, the concentration, the accuracy, the arm strength, the escapability, not to mention that this is in crunch time of this game. God, it's just ridiculous.
The Broncos had a lot of momentum until they played Detroit, basically, this week and the following weeks. And then, people were thinking, okay, maybe this team turns it around. They become a playoff contending team. I mean, they had a flash, man. And, that was year one of Sean Payton. I'm curious to see what the Broncos are able to accomplish next year. Here's the exact next week, right? And Mark says it here, right? Is Russ back? They won 4 straight and another, okay, sweet. This is prime era Russell Wilson throw right here. I mean,
it's the placement, understanding that you have a large athletic receiver, understanding that they have a special, unique ability to high point the football and go get it where defenders can't get their hands in it. That's the next level accuracy you talk about, with the very, very special passers that we've seen in this league. This is a corner route where the defender is outside leverage. So it should never be open. But because he throws it a little bit behind the receiver, in between the safety and corner, and he puts it up high and puts more pace on the ball instead of loft, that's why this thing is caught. It's the detail of the throw and obviously the athleticism of the catch. But it's Russell Wilson's ability to know that his receiver can do this. Right. It's a chemistry they have.
Defensive play, Jalen Ramsey. I think this was his
first
comeback game. Yeah, it was his first game back, and he made his presence known on this one for sure.
Yeah, he had this in the entire Raiders game, he had 0.0 passer rating when targeted. This is, he's in a bail technique early on. He's in man coverage. He breaks on this route, undercutting it. The acceleration out of his break, the timing out of his break, reading the quarterback's eyes. Jumping this route is risky because if you undercut this and you don't get the pick, it's caught for a touchdown. So you better be damn sure that you're going to get to the ball. Jalen Ramsey is not short confidence whatsoever. So, he makes this play, but you have to be cocky to play that position at the level that he does. You'll see him pop onto the screen here. I mean, it's not a poorly thrown football. Could it be thrown more out in front of him? Sure, but Jalen Ramsey just comes out of nowhere, like just an outstanding break, outstanding hands. How many times do we see DBs drop easy picks, and Jalen Ramsey's out here making hard, tough interceptions?
Jordan Love coming out game. I mean, he came. I remember first drive, like just had the oh shit watching this game on Thanksgiving. He looked like an entirely different quarterback than when the Lions played him, whatever it was, 6-7 weeks earlier. And that kept up through the rest of the season. But this is really the game where he started to just find that chemistry with his receivers and tear it up. Like you said in the description here, just threading the needle, man. The accuracy of this throw, confidence you have to make it. I mean, there is a lot of traffic going on there. I'll slow it down for everybody.
Yeah, and then pause it right on the catch, John. You'll see this was the first touchdown of the Jordan Love part of the year. And it's the confidence, like there's two defenders. One's obviously chasing Watson. One's just got beat across his face by Jaden Reed. But to thread the needle in between both of them, one outstanding catch, an outstanding concentration from Jaden Reed, who had just really an outstanding rookie year. I'm very high on him when he was coming out last year at Michigan State. But this throw, I mean, this was the start of I think even Lions fans were like, okay, we might have a problem for the next decade or so in this division because.
Well, and what's crazy too is the Packers sticking to their, not really willing to draft offensive skill position players early. And yet somehow, like you said, Mark, I mean, they ended up with, Reed, Dobbs, Watson, Wicks now. I mean, those are four very talented receivers that are very young, that are going to continue to grow and develop with Jordan Love. It's scary. It's if you're a Lions fan, you're like, shit, here we go again. All right.
First time Mahomes is on the list. That's a lot of people probably were like, hey, where's Mahomes? Yeah, this was the first time he's on the list because he just didn't have a lot of these magic moments early on in the year. But this is a ridiculous again, I told you guys earlier, if the defender's back is 2, you put it off his ear hole. And this is another situation where the defender is beat. Kelsey does a great inside move, breaks back to the outside. He's not like he's wide open. And Mahomes throws him open. Again, late hands from Kelsey. The defender never even knows the ball's coming until it's already caught. And this is a no-look pass, too, because Mahomes is looking at the linebacker.
That's insane. It's just ridiculous.
So, again, outstanding chemistry from these two guys.
With that tight of a window to throw into is just silly. It's
literally it goes right over his head.
It's
right
ridiculous.
Over the defender's head, right into Kelsey's hands.
We've seen some ridiculous no-look passes from guys like Mahomes, like Stafford, obviously, but this one's way up there, man. That's crazy. All right, Love's 1 week later, pretty much right back into the picture.
Yep, checks out of the play, checks to their next play, sees the coverage they like, sees there's pressure coming, throws it off his back foot. And again, you're going to hear a lot of common themes because these are the hardest things to do in this league consistently. Putting the ball where only your guy can get it in a crunch time moment. We saw Russell Wilson do it twice a few plays ago. We saw Mahomes just do it. This is Jordan Love putting the ball where only Christian Watson can get it, where it's either going to be incomplete or a touchdown. You cannot turn the ball over down here. The defender plays this perfectly. He's underneath Watson. This should be a pick if it's not perfectly thrown. But really good velocity here. He puts this ball on a line high, where only Christian Watson can high point the ball because he's 6'4" and the DB's 5'11". And quarterbacks that understand that and can take advantage of that, this is what you get.
Crazy. George Kittle being one of the best tight ends in the league. In this case, not for his catching ability, but for his blocking ability, just swallows 2 defenders whole so that Debo can run in for a touchdown.
Yeah, you can see him celebrating like he's in the WWE, like he's just a freak. Outstanding play call from Shanahan, Debo Samuel. You know, they saw Reddick chasing the Christian McCaffrey zone plays, and they just, you know, you see number 7 chase the shiny toy, and then they flip it to Debo. He gets the edge with ease, and then Kittle, in space, blocking 2 guys with 1 guy in the NFL. Pretty hard to do. Not many guys that can do that. And this is just, I mean, he's just fighting him off with 1 arm.
And this is a bit of a preview to some of our player awards that we're going to get into. The 49ers talked a lot of smack going into this game, and they backed it up. Debo with 3 touchdowns, and I think it was like a 5-score win, maybe. I mean, they just blew them out. It wasn't even close.
It was the start of they killed the Eagles, basically. After this game is when things really, they never got better for Philly.
This play is absolutely insane, even though it didn't count. So still giving the Chiefs their flowers on this one.
It happened, so it's on film, so you have to show it. This is not a predetermined lateral. This is just Travis Kelce being a football player. And it's like playing in the backyard with his brother. Like, I'm sure he's lateral the ball before to Jason, and Big Jason's probably ran in for touchdowns before, just messing around in the yard. But he just did it in an NFL football game. And this would have been a game-winning touchdown had it counted. So, I mean, the risk of it, we could talk about it all you want. It's so risky to do this. But Travis Kelce, former quarterback, like, he sees the field like a quarterback. He understands where all the routes are around him. He understands when he's open, why he's open. He understands when other guys are open. He knows where the ball should be thrown, whether it's to him or not. And this is just as heads up of a play as I've ever seen. And I always talk about laterals becoming more normalized. This is the kind of stuff that will help push that thing to become true. And you'll see more planned laterals. And you'll see some of them in the film as we continue this episode, but that will become more and more normalized because of stuff like this.
100%. And then Josh Allen doing something crazy.
Yeah, Josh Allen rolling left. I mean, you can see the next camera angle too, John, if you let it play out. It looks like he's got nowhere to go. There's 4 or 5 Chiefs players surrounding him. Nobody's open. And he just continues to fight with, scramble, buy myself as much time as I can. Before I go out of bounds, I'm going to give somebody a chance. Heads up play, too, from Murray here, the running back. He's in pass protection and then leaks out late. I mean, he throws this thing. He just floats it up above the defenders right before stepping out of bounds. Like, literally, they had to review this to see if he stepped out before throwing it. That's how close it was. Josh Allen is a freak of nature, man. I mean, he just does things every week. He could be an alien of the week, but
Jake Browning filling in Joe Burrow's shoes pretty well throughout the season. Obviously, weren't able to totally get it done, but man, he had some flashes. And so Mark giving him his flowers, like, hey, you might be a second string guy, but this is a alien-like play.
I'm not gonna lie. We've talked about some impressive throws. This is the best throw we've seen in this episode so far. Watch from this angle. He is about to get cracked by a free blitzer, and this ball is perfectly thrown to Jamar Chase, beating the coverage because the coverage isn't bad. He puts it literally the only spot that he can for this to be a completion.
Crazy.
While taking a shot from a free blitzer, and he knows he's going to get popped right here when he sees the blitz coming. Gets to the top of his drop, throws it, takes the hit, and I mean, it's so accurately, so well thrown.
It's absolutely nuts. Film study showing up on game day.
So this is a tendency, obviously, that the Chargers had. They'd shown this on film earlier in the year, and it's a heads-up play by the Raiders to recognize the same motion and for this corner to decide to jump it, right? So he flies onto the screen out of nowhere. this was the Brandon Staley collapse of all time game. But I mean, you have to just, this is not even, it's obviously a freaky athletic play, but this is just an outstanding job of being prepared for your opponent and taking the risk, not a risky play. This is a heads up play, recognizing that, hey, I've seen this before on film. I've studied you. I know what you like to do on this situation. I'm ready for it. And he makes an outstanding play, changed, really this game was already a blowout. This was, I think, like the first or second play of the second half, just solidifying, okay, this is going to be a long night for Brandon Staley and the Chargers. And I'm pretty sure Brandon Staley was fired before he even crossed the end zone here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the firing got, announced the next day, but that man was fired before he left the stadium 100%. Like, real bad.
John, it's like the throws get better and better. So this throw tops the Jake Browning. This throw tops the Jake Browning one that we just went over. So here we go again with throw of the year nominee. Rolls right, sets his feet, and so this is a cover 2 coverage. So the corner is kind of trying to high-low the outside guy. He's responsible for that short route, but he's also responsible for getting underneath it. So you can see the corner takes a short route. 32 is dropping into his zone. The safety's high, and Burrow puts it between 3 defenders in that zone coverage perfectly, allowing Amari Cooper to catch it. And then the safety didn't expect that ball to get through the zone coverage, so he wasn't ready to make the tackle, and it ends up being a touchdown. But this is perfectly thrown, and it's the anticipation and timing of it that makes, again, the attention to detail. This is a risky throw. Again, 98 out of 100 times that's intercepted or batted down, and 2 times if he had, it's going to actually be completed.
And this one probably beats that one. The Stafford throw is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. The quarterback play seems to get better and better throughout the year. You got to look at the end zone camera. Matthew Stafford, one of the best off-schedule throwers of all time. The sidearm, he's a gunslinger, no doubt about it. He's flat-footed. He's flat.
Yeah, I want to get like a freeze frame of like his stance when this ball comes out.
He's flat-footed. He's throwing this thing. He's throwing this thing sidearmed. Okay, like he's literally shooting it out of he's like shooting it out of the gun that he just pulled out of his belt, and he just slings this thing while flat-footed from the left hash all the way outside of the sideline with perfect accuracy. There's just not many dudes that can do this or ever would even try to do this. No, and Matthew Stafford just does this stuff, man. And a lot of times in his career, this has led to interceptions and stuff. And he's a gunslinger. He's risky. He will do dumb shit like this, but he can do it, which is why he does it. And occasionally he'll miss, and it'll be a pick 6, and I'll talk about why Stafford's overrated. But there's no doubt he can do this and will do it.
Drew Lock making an appearance in the Aliens of the Year. Who would have thunk?
Who would have thunk it, man? Put on for my city. Yeah, it's a beautiful catch. Looks a hell of a lot like the catch that Smith and Jigba had at Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. This is to win the game against Philly. This is a huge drive that they had.
I was gonna say this is where he puts on the backpack and looks to Gino, and
would be the first time that we've seen Drew Lock play with swagger. This was such a cool moment for him. Starting this game, we didn't know if we were going to see Gino or Drew Lock. They went with Lock, and pre-snap, he talked about it. He saw the coverage that he wanted. Had Bradbury in one-on-one with Jackson Smith and Jigba. Knew he was going there. He told him in the huddle. He said, "If I get one-on-one, I'm going to you." And I mean, literally, a perfect over-the-shoulder fade ball here in the rain. By the way, I might add, it was pouring rain at this point. So the catch, the focus, the tracking of the football.
I know we don't have the celebration
with the game on the line.
Yeah, one of the coolest moments, honestly, of the season, because it's what you said, that the pre-snap conversation into the play to end up clutching out the game from all the way out in the freaking 30-yard line, and then Drew Lock, right, like second string guy who, unfortunately, right, things didn't work out, is probably on the journeyman quarterback track, and then looking to Gino to celebrate, who has experienced that firsthand for the past however many years. It's such a cool moment. And all of the stories that kind of get intertwined in a really incredible, memorable play like this. It's why you love NFL football. It feels bigger than life in a lot of ways. It's really cool.
Here we go with another. I mean, they just keep getting better, John. I didn't even realize that it goes like almost in order of at this. If you watch obviously that angle is tough, but if you watch the other angle of this, I don't know. I've probably watched this clip 500 times and just the clipping of it, doing short, film breakdowns of it. Joe Flacco's not athletic. Okay. He's just not. He just got off his couch. He's getting tackled.
Where he got the call for sure.
He's getting tackled. One leg is being held down by a defensive player. His body is looking to throw right. Like he wasn't planning on going left. He goes all the way back to the other side of his progression and slings this thing to the outside of Amari Cooper, where then Cooper makes just a really incredible balance and focus, an outstanding two-handed catch on the sideline. But the throw, like we got to see this throw again. He's checking the play, that move, recognizing the coverage. All that's great. But you're not expecting to see Joe Flacco make athletic throws like this, off-schedule throws like this. Like, I don't know where the hell that came from, but I'm not sure who we were watching. This is like the strength, the athleticism, the body control.
And the catch too, man.
It's
Crazy
out of this
catch.
world.
It's nuts. This is the first Jahmyr Gibbs appearance we have in this, but make no mistake, incredible talent that is going to be making plays just like this one for years to come.
This is such a beautiful.
Holy shit! I mean, again, this juke. Like, what the hell?
Some of my favorite plays are the plays that just make you just like, it's like the sound effects. It's like the hoo-wee.
Like,
the whoop scoop, like anything like that. Those are some of the most fun plays to watch. And I mean, you could watch this on replay and it just doesn't get old. The change of direction, the fake like he's going in, breaking out, making defenders look stupid. We saw Bijan Robinson earlier in this episode have a very similar move. You have to be so special and so balanced and so shifty to make people look this stupid at the professional level. And Jahmyr Gibbs is just flat out different. I mean, dude, like,
like you said, the speed with the change of direction, it's insane. Like,
and he doesn't even slow down. That's the thing.
Right.
These running backs that can make moves like this and they don't slow down to do it. Like he doesn't slow down. Like I'm watching this clip 100 times. I'm like, how did he just do that? And it didn't seem like he had to slow down at all. He just did that full speed. He's so hard to tackle in space. Like, it's not even fair.
No, it's insane. And like you said, Mark, like it's the type of stuff that, like, we've watched enough football in our lives. We see, let's see if I can get the freeze frame. Like 90% of the time when you're watching more than 90% of the time when you're watching football, this guy just gets tackled here and it's a regular play. And it literally shocks you to watch something like that happen. And you're like, holy crap. Like, somebody actually just did that. It's insane.
Here's a very similar play. Very similar.
Yeah, this is where the Cardinals torch the Eagles. Boom. It's just a quick play. Yeah, I think it's only 4 seconds long here, but same thing.
But dude, just let it loop.
Woo!
I mean, holy shit. Let that loop. We'll put the whoop on loop. I mean, he took this dude's knee.
Holy shit.
Michael Carter.
CJ Stroud making an appearance, obviously offensive rookie of the year, and well-deserved. I mean, I think we're in playoffs at this point. Unless this is to get in the playoffs. This is to get in the playoffs.
This was like the play-in game to get in the playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically a playoff game for these guys. He's retreating. He's just like, he's buying himself time. He's trying to avoid the sack. He's trying to make shit out of nothing. And off his back foot, falling away. I think the cool part about this throw, John, is, understanding that he had to put air under this one because he had to let his receiver run underneath it. Understanding that it's either, again, it's going to be mine or nobody's, right? I'm going to give my guy a chance. If he doesn't get there, we punt it. It's fine. But to complete these,
Crazy.
you're a different breed. Like, this is incredible arm strength. Obviously, being elusive in the pocket, it's special.
So here we are in playoffs now, and this throw from Stafford was absolutely insane. And again, it was so interesting being a Lions fan, being on the other side of it. For once, where it's like, how did Stafford make that happen? Like any other quarterback, this is incomplete, and the Lions get the ball.
And just a little more background, because the film shows you a lot, but it doesn't always show you the full story. You got to remember, Matthew Stafford in this game was bleeding out of his hand. He had his thumb taped. Okay, you can see it on his throwing hand. There's a big white wrap because he's gushing blood, and his thumb was all jacked up. I'm pretty sure he had already just been concussed in this game, like a few plays earlier. And here he is coming out of the concussion tent and just throwing a beautiful ball like this while getting hit. I mean, the Lions hit Stafford consistently, like all game long. And I'm telling you, he's the toughest dude. He's one of the, if not the toughest dudes in the league. And I'll never, ever discredit Stafford for that part of his game. This is just impressive, man. Again, sidearms, gunslinger, take the contact, put it exactly where your receiver needs to. On third down and long, there's nothing that frustrates a defensive team, a defensive coordinator, more than when a quarterback and receiver make a play like this to move the chains when they should be punting.
It's just ridiculous.
Like, it's so frustrating. You do everything right.
Frustrating. Yep. And that's exactly what it was watching that, because there was probably 3 or 4 third downs where he completed passes that ridiculous to keep the Rams drive alive. And like you said, it's just like, what the hell? Like, why won't you die? Like, that's the feeling. All right, Josh Allen, as Mark's saying here, 6'5", 240 pounds, and doesn't matter. He can do shit like this still.
A lot of people said this was a fake slide. I'm calling bullshit on that. It's just a hesitation move. It's all it is. The Steelers fell for it. Like, it's not a fake slide. This is just a good little stutter move, and then he lowers his shoulder. And I don't think defenders realize, like, when you try to tackle Josh Allen, you think he's a quarterback. He's not. He's Superman. The guy is he's 6'5", 240. You can't just throw your body at him, because you're gonna bounce right off him like you're made of rubber. Like, he's too big, too strong, and he's faster than he looks. He's a special breed, special talent in this league. One of the most fun guys to watch any Sunday.
Hits you with the Superman flex to prove it too.
Yeah.
And then another
we got a second straight
play. Yep.
So, John, I want to break this play down, because I have watched it so many times trying to figure out if this was designed or not. This is 3rd and 15 in the playoffs, the playoff game against the Chiefs. I'm pretty sure this is designed where Josh Allen has the option to run quarterback draw and run the football for the first down if he gets man coverage and everybody
throws a lateral.
But he has the option to lateral it. So if you watch this from the beginning, the running backs, notice how
he's ready for it the entire time, and like you're saying,
and look at Dawson Knox blocking.
Block. Yeah.
It's a designed draw with the option to zip it out to the lateral.
This
is what I'm talking about, playing laterals. Like, this is what I'm talking about. It's happening. We're watching it happen in real time. This is a plan. This is such a creative play call. Shout out to Joe Brady, the Bills OC. He did a great job stepping in once they fired their OC. Like, they were a whole different offense. That's a huge part of
like a totally different offense.
Totally different team.
Basically overnight.
This is such a cool play. Like, this is such a cool play, and it makes offensive football so much better, more exciting.
I guarantee we're going to see twice as many of those next year. And here we go. One more, Josh. It sucks how much this dude is in Aliens. I know. So in Aliens so much, and as you say, he hasn't seen a Super Bowl yet. He might never. I mean, he is a special player.
I mean, are you joking me? Are you like, look at this throw. Rolling left. And it's so unorthodox. Like, what kind of throwing motion is that? Like, he just, like, you're not supposed to do that. Like, he throws this, like, almost like he's an idiot. Like, he just, like, zips it, like, short arms it, sidearm flick of the wrist, puts it right on the pylon for Shakir. Like, he gets away with doing some of the craziest stuff, and that's why he'll throw picks. But
this play is just ridiculous. I mean,
game manager my ass.
Yeah, I mean, dodging the sack, obviously, and then to go and make this throw and the catch, man. That is a fullback making one of the best catches I've seen all season. The awareness, where you are on the sideline, make sure you're in bounds, just kind of gracefully falls over.
He's not a full. He's a Swiss Army. He can do anything for you,
literally.
And Purdy
he can block, he can run, he can catch.
The slander that Brock Purdy got all year drives me insane. Just drives me insane. Like, he made plays like this all year, and people are like, "Oh, he's game." Like, this is in the NFC Championship when you're down, 3 scores to a team that you're favored to beat, and he never blinked. He is never worried. You can't coach that. He's a special talent. The game manager is not what you say about somebody that goes to the Super Bowl in year 2. And he's lost, I think, 2 games as a starter. Like, please.
And then last one from the Super Bowl, Hardman.
Patty Mahomes. Super Bowl MVP. He's inevitable. This play's not talked about enough in the Super Bowl because it happened early in the game, and obviously there's other plays that kind of took over, and it's the most watched thing every year. But I think this was the best play in the Super Bowl. But because it happened so early, rolling left, gets to the numbers, completes this ball on the opposite numbers. The safety, he threw this ball so far that the safety, who gets turned inside out from an excellent route from Mecole Hardman, never finds the ball. This ball's thrown in that safety zone.
Right.
He's expecting it to be shorter because he's like, there's no way this dude's going to throw it over my head, right? I'm 60 yards downfield. There's no way he throws this over my head. But you're playing against Patrick Mahomes. You forgot that in the film study. And a tough catch, too. Like, this all around, great route, turns the guy inside out, great throw, great catch. Chiefs Super Bowl champs because of plays like that.
And that was an hour straight of some of the best plays from the entire 2024 season. Freaks of nature making otherworldly athletic plays in order to do crazy shit on a football field that half the time you don't even think is possible, and they make it possible.
John, I'm going to need you to use your musical ability for next year and write up a little, alien riff or something.
Oh, I got you.
Something that sounds a little.
We'll make that. I need to redo the opening sequence anyways soon here, so we'll do that, and I'll get going on the sound effects a little bit more too.
I know exactly. You're reading my mind on what I'm thinking about, and I guarantee 100%. John's gonna land it because John loves space. Look at his backdrop; he's got space shit all over the place. He loves the aliens thing just as much as anybody.
Space themed album.
It's a fun thing that we do. We really appreciate the support we got with it. It's fun making them. It's fun looking for those every week. Every week.
Shout out Mark too, because as much as I'd like to take credit for Practice Squad Pod as a unit, Aliens of the Week are all Mark, man. He's the one that finds those plays. He's the one that stitches them together. He's the one that does the film review. I just put my dumb ass on a thumbnail, copy paste some guys, and he's good to go. It's really Mark's baby, and he absolutely crushes it week in and week out. And we'll come back bigger and better with it next year as well. So
for sure, the goal is next year when you guys are watching games, you point at the TV and you're like, alien. Yep. Tag us, and maybe you're because I can't. I do have the 4 TV setup now in the basement, so maybe I won't miss as many games, but I can't watch every second of every game. I've missed some things. So if you see something, whether it's a big guy because big guys don't get enough love, whether it's a specialist because they don't get enough love, you see something that's worthy of alien talk.
Well, you did a good job with some of the blocking that was going on making aliens, but yeah, I'll make sure that the offensive linemen also get some love next year.
Because they deserve some. Dude, those guys are some of the biggest aliens out there.
100%. The speed at which they can move at their size alone is it kind of defies physics a little bit. So yeah, we'll definitely make sure to get some more offensive lineman love next year. That's up to me to make happen. So I'll make sure to deliver on that. To wrap things up real quick, and we'll be quick here because we're an hour and 15 in on an off-season episode, which I freaking love, by the way. That's good stuff. We're gonna go through our PSP awards here, and so look, NFL standard. We're gonna have an MVP, comeback player of the year, defensive, offensive player, defensive, offensive rookie. But then we got two that are unique to practice squad. We got trash talker and worst coach of the year, and then we'll also give a coach of the war year. So, Mark, who is your MVP for the 2024 season?
So no brainer. The NFL got it wrong, without a doubt. The NFL got it wrong. It's Josh Allen. It's Josh Allen. He did more. When you think about most valuable player, you think about what you do for your team. Obviously, winning matters. The Bills did that, okay? Against all odds, made a huge playoff push. Nobody thought they'd even show up in the playoffs. They get the 2 seed in the AFC. They host a playoff game. They host 2 playoff games. Josh Allen's he's the player of the year. He's the MVP. Statistically, he was the best quarterback in the league. Most touchdowns. It wasn't even close. I get he had some turnover issues, but he was the most exciting. He had the best stats, and his team was a 2 seed in the AFC. So, to me, he's the MVP. Blows Lamar's numbers out of the water.
I'm a fan of Lamar getting this award. I think, most valuable player. Mark, you make some great arguments for Josh Allen, but I also think, the Baltimore's run game pretty much doesn't exist without Lamar with the injuries that they suffered this past year. I think he totally stepped up to the plate as far as a passer. The offense just looked like an entirely different beast with the right coordinator, right weapons around him. But Lamar was the centerpiece. He was the show. And I think Baltimore went on the run that they did because of that. So disagree with Mark on that one. I'm siding with the NFL and their bias towards Lamar, but I'm fine rolling with that. Comeback player of the year, Mark?
Baker Mayfield. Obviously, this is a skewed award because Damar Hamlin died and came back to life. Pretty hard to beat that. But I think Baker Mayfield, a lot of people, Joe Flacco obviously won the award. And, I'm not going to say that he didn't deserve it because coming off the couch doing what he did is pretty damn impressive. But Baker Mayfield had went through much worse than Joe Flacco. I mean, Baker Mayfield has been written off by more people than you can count. And, this franchise like the Browns takes him number 1 overall, sends him off for Deshaun Watson, even after he won him a playoff game and gave nothing but toughness and grit and hard work and leadership to that franchise. And really, he's responsible for bringing the Browns back. I mean, you can credit anybody you want, but Baker is just as responsible as anybody for getting the Browns back 100%. To being relevant. And then he goes to a new team where people are saying he might not even be the starter, blah, 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 blah. And he comes out and does what he does, wins a playoff game, goes into Detroit and keeps it close with Detroit. He won over Tampa. He won over the league. He won over, I think, most coaches in this league. And now as a free agent, he's a hot commodity. Like, people want Baker. Sean Payton wants Baker. Tampa wants to keep Baker. Any team that's looking for a quarterback is talking about signing Baker. So to me, he did more than anybody else in terms of coming back from an injury or from a shitty situation and making the most of it.
Yeah, and I think he's the guy in Tampa now. I think Tampa's going to make sure he stays there. That seems like a great fit. So, well, I agree with Mark on a lot of fronts here. I just think Flacco off of the couch to go on a playoff run was the right move for this. And again, if you're sitting here and you're upset that we didn't pick Damar Hamlin, we went on.
Should have got the first down.
I was going to say, we went on this entire tangent. All he had to do was to actually play just a couple meaningful plays, and that was his to win, considering he died and came back to life. Walking with Jesus Christ as far as feats to overcome, and yet I don't know, maybe Jesus Christ would have gotten that first down, but Damar Hamlin did not. So
that's the difference between him and Jesus. The main difference: Jesus gets that first down.
Yeah, Jesus gets the first down. If he has to walk on water to do it, he will. Defensive player of the year. Look, I don't think there's any other person that should even cross anyone's mind. It's Myles Garrett. You guys watch those plays that we showed. He's a freak. You have to put 2 people to block him, to move with him. He can get absolutely armbarred in the face and still make the sack, and he can hurdle offensive linemen to block punts. He is the best edge rusher this year. No doubt. I don't even think giving him a position's fair. He was probably the best player on any field at any time this entire season.
I agree he's the guy that should get the award, but I don't think you can say there's no one else in the conversation. TJ Watt, yet again, you could argue was snubbed. He did have better numbers than Myles Garrett, and this has happened a few times where T.J. Watt did not get Defensive Player of the Year while having the best statistical year as a pass rusher. So, the Steelers obviously didn't have as much success throughout the year as the Browns, especially their defense. Like the Browns' defense was one of the best all year. Myles Garrett, huge part of that. I think Myles Garrett was just a little bit more dominant at times. And
I think the other factor here too, and this is what people will say in response to what you just said, TJ Watt did have better numbers. He was double teamed at about half the rate that Myles Garrett was throughout the season. And so when you factor that in, like Myles Garrett was up against the grain and put up very, very similar numbers to TJ Watt. So again, TJ Watt didn't have two tight ends following him around just so that they could take account for him. That is no slight to TJ Watt whatsoever. I just think Myles Garrett was on an entirely different level this season. But I do agree. Obviously, phenomenal player. Hopefully, he heals up and is good to go next season. Offensive Player of the Year.
So this one was, I feel like this is the easy choice. I think the league got it right. This is normally going to go to a player that's not a quarterback because the MVP is going to be a quarterback almost always. Player of the Year offensively is Christian McCaffrey. For a long time, through most of the season, I thought it'd be Tyreek Hill. He was on track to do record numbers in receiving yards, receiving touchdowns. Had a little injury that slowed him up. The Dolphins kind of hit a speed bump late in the season. Christian McCaffrey never hit a speed bump, never slowed down. He did everything for them. Caught the ball, blocked, leading rusher in the league, carried the ball 30, 40 times a game, took a beating, did it again the next Sunday, did it again the next Sunday, did it again the next Sunday. Like just a machine. And they force fed him, and he handled that better than we've seen running backs be able to handle it. And it's pretty rare you see guys touch the ball as much as he does and not get hurt or not have some kind of issue. Like most of the league at this point is a running back by committee. Niners said this guy is too special to take off the field. You got to be in elite shape to do that. You got to be very tough. You got to be very smart to do all of those different things. And McCaffrey he checks every single box. If you could create a running back in a lab, that's what you get.
Yeah, the consistency definitely cannot be faulted on McCaffrey, and I think that's where Tyreek Hill came short. I put Tyreek Hill here just because he gives me that, MVP kind of vibe to his season where when he was on the field and when he was healthy, it was like having a Madden character with maxed out stats on the field. And you saw it too. He completely changed the way that offense functioned. And when the injury bug kind of started to get him towards the end of the season, it showed up in the Dolphins offensive productivity. And so that's why he's the offensive player of the year for me. I mean, Mark went with the leading rusher that actually got the award. I went with the leading receiver that, fell short. But I still think, both obviously very valid picks. That is no slight to CMC whatsoever. All right. Offensive rookie of the year. Mark, do you think they got this one right? Because I think they did not personally, but I know, you have some opinions on Stroud, so let's hear them.
I think they got it right. CJ Stroud in year one takes his team to the playoffs. For a while, they were even talking about him being an MVP flat out, not just rookie of the year. If you're in that conversation, chances are you probably should be offensive rookie of the year. There's plenty of guys in this class that you could argue had seasons worthy of that. It was a very, very talented rookie class. But CJ Stroud, what he did for Houston, I mean, he turned the franchise around. You figured when losing Watson and having a rebuild, you figured it would take 5-6 years. And CJ Stroud did it in year one. I mean, he competed with the Ravens, the ones in the AFC in Baltimore.
Yeah. No, he had a very, very memorable, rookie season as a starting quarterback in the NFL, 100%. For me, though, it's probably got to be the guy breaking records at his respective position, Puka Nacua, who I think, obviously not really on anybody's radar going into the season. Not only does he smash records, great hands, great route running, and I think biggest thing to me was just physical. I mean, he's a big bodied dude that was other grown ass men trying to catch him, and his yards after the catch ability because of his ability to break tackles and run through people was super impressive as well. And then also huge honorable mention to Sam Laporta. Yeah, also tight end, breaking records, looked like an absolute stud. This was more contested as far as who the rookie of the year was. I would say, or not contested, I should say, like competitive. Like you had just 3 or 4 very memorable rookie performances on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball, I think, it kind of defaulted to Will Anderson because he just did his freaking job at a very high level with Houston. Pretty crazy to see back-to-back, on both sides of the ball. They're getting the rookie nod. For me, I'm going Devin Witherspoon on this one. I thought he had an incredible season that kind of went under the radar. I actually pulled up his stats, kind of looking, okay, am I being biased here? 65 tackles, 3 sacks, interception, and a defensive TD as a cornerback and first year of the season. That's pretty incredible. Multiple pass breakups, did his job. Obviously, it's coming off of a Sauce Gardner season previous year, so that's the kind of shoes he had to fill. But I mean, it's still really, really good performance, I think, as a defensive rookie. Mark?
Yeah, I mean, definitely valid argument there. Will Anderson, you can't really go wrong with, but I think Jalen Carter with the Eagles, what he did for that interior D line as a pass rusher, what he was able to do to limit other teams' running game. A lot of people had worries about his character. A lot of people wondered why he fell in the draft. From what I saw this year, every team that didn't pick him made a mistake because he was absolutely worth a top pick last year in the draft. His talent, I mean, scouts weren't wrong about it. He's generational. So he had a great rookie year. I expect him to continue to take leaps forward, and I just thought that he was the most dominant of any defensive rookie in their first season.
Yeah, definitely a game changer. Not interior defensive line too. Not an easy position to be an impact rookie at. Very, very difficult. So, heading to a first unique PSP award, best trash talker of the season. I thought around on CJ Gardner-Johnson for mine for a bit. Obviously, like anybody that watches the show knows I'm a huge fan of his. 2 problems. 1, did not age well in the NFC Championship, and I think that matters a lot. If you're talking trash, you need to back it up. That's one of the critical things about being a good trash talker is actually being able to back it up. And 2, he spent, vast majority of the season trash talking on Twitter, not on the field, because he was injured with a torn pec. And so instead, I'm giving it to Deebo Samuel. And really, I think the biggest reason why I'm giving this award is their Eagles spout. I mean, he talked a lot of trash, absolutely backed it up. And not only that, but after that, right, saying, really several members of the 49ers said this of just, we cracked the code on the Eagles, have fun, everybody else beating up on them. Just do this and you're good to go. And sure enough, the Eagles did not look like the same team after they played the 49ers. The 49ers broke this team. I think both physically and mentally, they just completely dominated them.
Yeah, and also with Deebo, I mean, 2 things with Deebo to kind of enhance your argument. He calls out Bradbury by name and says, "I don't think he can guard me. I think he's trash." Like straight up said that on a podcast, and then goes out and scores 3 tugs against the Eagles, backing up his word and then some. And then he gets called out by CJ Gardner-Johnson in the NFC Championship game, right? Preseason, they're talking about, well, we'll see you when we see you. You can't run routes, you can't get open, blah, blah, blah. And then Deebo has a pretty solid NFC Championship game. And then CJ waving early to the crowd, like, you can't be trash talker of the year if you don't back it up. And CJ backed it up at some times, but fell apart in the biggest moment after trash talking. Can't have that happen. So, yeah, Deebo easily could be in that argument. But I have Travis Kelce. The reason I have Travis Kelce is because Travis Kelce annoyed people all year long. Taylor Swift drama. People are like, they're getting sick of the whole Swiftie bullshit with the relationship and the off the season. And, he ran his mouth pretty much all year long. And there was never a doubt with them that they were going to pull it off. That Ravens game, he drew 2 penalties just by talking shit and being smarter than the Ravens players, knowing that if he got them to hit first and just
right.
Because Kelsey's smart enough to not retaliate. He's a veteran guy. He's a veteran trash talker. There were a couple 3rd downs in that game where he got the Chiefs first downs, 15 yards, just by being annoying and having people hate him. throwing Justin Tucker stuff in pregame, doing all that stuff, and then backing it up, and then going into the Super Bowl talking about how, they're the team to beat. We're never an underdog. Crowd's booing him while he's getting interviewed, and he's hyping the crowd up saying, I love the boos, can't wait till Sunday. And it's like, when you have that much pressure on you and you've been there and you've done that, talking shit and running your mouth in game, press conferences, off the field, all eyes on you, and every goddamn commercial there is. Like, I started to not like Travis Kelce this year. I was so annoyed, but he still backs it up.
His name was in everybody's mouth all the time. Like you said, like literally, like you just couldn't get away from him.
You can't get away from him, and it starts to make you hate him and Mahomes, and yet they back it up in the biggest way, in the biggest stage.
Back it up. I'll say I was thoroughly annoyed with the Kansas City Chiefs by the end of the season.
You got to fight for your right to talk. Like it's so annoying. I hate them. I hate them. I hate
worst
him. I hate
coach. I think both Mark and I same opinion. Brandon Staley was the worst performing coach. I mean, this dude came in and acted like he had cracked the code to everything when he started with the Chargers, and has just actually regressed season after season rather than progressed. Simple as that. Most embarrassing loss possible to get fired with. So sucks to suck. Sorry, Brandon Staley.
There's not much debate here. I mean, the guy got fired like mid-game. It's tough to do that. It's tough to have a team as talented as that and win 5 games. There's really no excuse. I don't care.
No excuse.
There's just no excuse for it. You're
mismanagement of personnel. Like, I mean, defensive
and
coach,
that team wasn't
blown
playing.
out.
The team wasn't playing for him. Like,
right.
It's pretty rare at the NFL level that you see a team literally not give a shit and not want to win or not compete because they're playing for their livelihood. The Chargers in that game against the Raiders did not give a single fuck.
No, they were. I mean, Eckler celebrating on that first down, dude.
Like it just didn't even matter.
Yeah. And then finally, Coach of the Year. Mark and I are in unison on this one.
I'm not. I changed my mind.
You changed your mind. All right, never mind. I standing alone and saying Dan Campbell is my Coach of the Year. I already know who Mark's is going to be. Then it's going to be D'Amico Ryans. But Dan Campbell for me. Look, to turn in 3 years the Lions into the laughingstock of the NFL as they have been for as long as Mark and I have been alive, really longer than that, to a team that went to the NFC Championship. Almost made their first Super Bowl appearance. I mean, talk about guys that play for their coach, how they weren't doing that for Brandon Staley. You can tell every single Lion is willing to literally take bullets for Dan Campbell. He is a leader, and it's really hard to do that when you have a bunch of very wealthy, very talented athletes. That's a lot of personalities to manage. We've given shout outs to Mike Tomlin for his ability to manage personalities. Dan Campbell makes those kind of guys, get gritty, play with no ego, play selfless, and just team mentality. Very hard to achieve in the NFL. He's my Coach of the Year.
Yeah. I mean, you can't discredit what Dan Campbell did for the city, for that franchise, and what he continues to do. But it took him 3 years to do this, right, John?
Yep. And in
D'Amico
one
Ryans,
year,
1 year, took the Texans to the playoffs, won a playoff game. You have to give him credit for that. This was a Texans team that nobody thought was going to do anything this year. He's very much a part of why they draft Stroud, very much a part of why they move up and draft Anderson. He said, we're going to go all in right now on our 2 guys, defense, offense. Let's build from there up. He got the most out of guys that you didn't think you'd get a lot out of. And the Texans are ahead of schedule, man. And he obviously was a great defensive coordinator with the 49ers. He comes into Houston and in year 1 changes the culture. And I think that that's more impressive than Dan Campbell doing something like he did in his 3rd year. And also, I just still can't get over Dan Campbell's final game this year and the mismanagement of the situations and stuff like that. That kind of sets him back just a little. Like they were right there, tied, I would say. And then how he handled the NFC Championship game puts D'Amico Ryans ahead of him, just slightly. But both guys, I think, deserved it more than Stefanski.
I agree. I understand working with an injured quarterback. Sure. Like I understand. I think it's equally as impressive to work with a rookie quarterback and a rookie edge rusher and turn them into, offensive and defensive rookies of the year, respectively. So yeah, I agree with that. And then obviously, I mean, again, the coaching job Campbell's done. He's more so a body of work than just what he's done in this year. But I mean, proof is in the pudding with that. So, anyways, y'all, this was a really fun episode. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Again, I was getting like hyped up as if we were in season, just kind of watching all this film.
If you miss football, this is a good spot to watch some of the best plays.
I'm kind of happy we let the year in review kind of like marinate in our brains for a couple of weeks before we really started to, like shoot our
Take
shots.
the emotions out of it. Take the emotions out. Dissect some film. Look at some of the best plays. Kind of reminisce on really what was I thought a really awesome season.
It's a great season, and now you have again free agency and the draft to look forward with us. And our coverage last year was solid, and we are planning on taking it up an entirely different level this season. So thanks everybody for sticking around for a longer episode here in the off season. But I think that it was well worth the hang and going in depth on a lot of this film, watching some of these incredible plays happen. So we will see you guys next week. We'll be probably talking maybe a little bit of free agency, but nothing just yet. Really, it's going to be focused on, all right, what is this offensive line draft class with a lot of obviously very needy offensive line teams. And we're going to be doing the same thing, breaking out pros and cons of all these top prospects, taking a look at some of their film, seeing who's going to really translate to the NFL level the best. So we will see you guys next week with that. Peace.
See you guys.